Good morning. Welcome to St. Francis in the Foothills. It is good to have you here today. The sun is shining. It's a beautiful day. It is time for us to decide how it is that God is calling into our lives and asking us to become all the wonderful things that we can become. I want to tell you about one particular time when someone has done that, and it's a bit sad to me. About almost a year ago, as we went into isolation and we began to do remote broadcasts, we had several people who stepped up in wonderful ways. One of those was Dean Moore. He's been doing our recording and our editing for the last year, and he's retiring after this service. And so as you watch what Dean's work is today and you see how everything is put together, please raise up thanks for who he is. But also in the midst of that, listen to the voice that asks what you can be. How is it that in this moment you can become something more? Even difficult moments are the opportunity to become something. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's start by lighting our candles.
Good morning. Here's our call to awareness by Robert Raines, Taking on the Mystery. Taking on the mystery is yielding to grace, letting go of all explanations, analysis, ideologies, self-images, images of God, agendas, expectations. Taking on the mystery is undergoing the finitude of years, hallowing diminishments, and living into the solitude of our own integrity. Taking on the mystery is undergoing the pain of learning that there are not empires favored by the Holy One, not the Roman, the British, the Soviet, or the American. Taking on the mystery is undergoing the grief of understanding that there are not ideologies or theologies favored by the Holy One, not communism or capitalism, nor Islam, Judaism, or Christianity. Taking on the mystery is acknowledging that we cannot name the mystery, though we try. We cannot claim the mystery, though we do. The mystery names and claims us, inviting us to take it upon ourselves as if we were God's spies. Have a great morning.
For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of the ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage, fathers of time, daughters of dust, and sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy, brothers of love, lovers of life, and builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith, makers of peace and wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of the ancestors. We
Good morning, boys and girls. It is good to have you here with me today. I like talking to you. I like thinking about you and who you are. And I wish we got to see each other more. But I want to tell you a story about something when I was just about your age. I was in 6th grade. And I was in a teeny tiny little school at that point. There were only about 20 kids in the whole school. And we went on a field trip. We all fit in one bus, and we stopped for lunch. And we were at the base of a mountain. And Mr. Chesser, who was my teacher, looked at us and said, you know, we've come here before in other years, and no one has ever climbed to the top of that mountain. Now, see, I'm a pretty good climber, and I was one of the biggest kids in the school, so I knew that I could do what no kid had ever done before. So up I went that mountain, and I went up that mountain quickly, and I got to the top, and I'm all excited about it. I'm the first one ever, and then I see that my friend Jim was also making it up to the top, and that worried me a bit, because he's not quite as good a climber as I am, so how could he get to and do something that no one else had ever done? And then I see that other kids are coming close, and that's when it hit me that maybe I wasn't right, and I looked behind me, and behind me, the mountain went down for a second, and then it went back up, and up, and up. And I had stopped at the first mountain and not seen that the mountain still keeps going. And there was a whole lot more I needed to do if I was going to get finished. And that's kind of what it is in life as well. There's always things, no matter how much you've already finished, there's always other things to do. But that's a good thing, because you don't want to stay in 1st grade your whole life. You don't want to stay in 2nd grade, no matter how good it is, your whole life. You want to move on to 3rd and 4th and 5th and 6th. After that year, I had to go to junior high, and from that small little school, I had to go to a school that had thousands of kids, and it was scary to me. It was different. I didn't know what to do. I had more kids in in any one of my classes than I'd had in my whole school, and I had to figure out how to change and be different. So as you move on, it will be challenging sometimes, but don't worry. That next mountain, you can climb it just as quick as you climbed this one. Thanks, boys and girls. We see you. Love you.
We would like to thank our choir director, Cynthia Hiltz, for laying down the piano track for the congregational song.
So the song that TLS just sang, Lord, You Have Come to the Lakeshore, is a song that was sung at my ordination service. And it's a song that I really enjoy because as you're ordained, of course, you're hearing that calling to step away from what you already knew. And what I've learned in life is that it's very simple to get stuck where you're at. Not because you're in a wrong place, not because you're in a bad place, but because that thing called inertia just kind of slows you down and says, this is okay, this is enough. And we've been kind of in that space of enough for almost a year now. And we have to look and say, what can we be? Even in this space where we can't quite be together, even in this space where we're trying to socially distance, what can we be? There's a lot of different ministries that are out there, a lot of ways for us to give money, to be able to help. Maybe if you're willing to give some of your time to be able to do a volunteer work. I want you to really think, what is it that you can be today? How can you be the hands and feet of Christ, the life of St. Francis outside of just your home? It could be phone calls. It could be ways to reach out to those right there in your neighborhood. But somehow or another, we need to choose love in the space where we're at, even if it's socially distanced. Thank you, St. Francis, for all the stuff you have been and for all the stuff you will be. Love you.
Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for them singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the word. Sweet the rain's new fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness where his feet passed. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light, Eden saw play. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day. Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for them singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the word.
Howdy, St. Francis folks. It's Mary. Glad to be with you today and to pray with you. ask that you get comfortable where you're at, standing, sitting, um, and ground yourself, however that works for you. Um, just ground yourself, breathe, focus on your breath. The breath that is the breath of the Spirit that flows between us and amongst us and through us and connects us to each other and to all of creation. And so I ask you to do that, and then we'll go into prayer. So I invite you now into groundedness and spirit. Loving God, we come into your presence with much on our hearts and minds. We come into this time of community and hold space for one another. We hold space for those in our St. Francis community who are in need of our prayers, our love and support, even from afar. Those who are going through various things, various health trials. We know them because we know them because they are part of our community, but we know them also because we have their names in our newsletters and so forth, and the names that come to us in various and other ways. We remember them now before you in our hearts and surround them with love and light. When so much of our world is groaning with injustice and destruction, we are invited to turn to God and to one another. For we are not meant to carry the struggles of the world alone. And so, in a spirit of collective embrace, may we share together in prayer for all that troubles our hearts. For all of the bodies in suffering, deprived of resources, withheld from care, or made into targets of violence. Lord, hear our prayer. For all whose spirits are in despair, those who are facing loss or grief, those who are isolated, or those who are struggling to accept their own worth. Loving God, hear our prayers. For all of the ways that power is wielded over communities and individuals, for those living under oppressive forces, for the temptation towards complicity with injustice, and for the ways the church sometimes uses you, O God, as a weapon rather than a tool of healing and liberation. Loving God, hear our prayers. But just as we are not meant to shoulder the world's pain alone, we are equally invited to delight with one another in the joys that sustain us. And so, for the beauty that grows around us, God, we give you thanks. For the gifts of community and new forms because of the pandemic, and relationships that transform and sustain us. Oh God, we give you thanks. For art and music and stories and truths that foster love and connection. Loving God, we give you thanks. For every source of courage in the face of all that makes us afraid. Loving God, we give you thanks. and for your presence within us and around us, in our highs and lows, our hopes and our despair. God, we give you thanks. Hear now our prayers and deepen our willingness to show up with and for one another, sharing each other's burdens and working for one another's protection and care. All this we ask in your holy name. Amen.
I remember who I am. I remember who you are and who we are. Is your spirit. I remember who I am. I remember and who we are is pure spirit. We are life, we are light, we are love. We are joy, we are peace, we are wisdom. Beloved community, we are your spirit. I remember who I am. I remember who you are and who we are. Is pure spirit. We are life, we are light, we are love. We are joy, we are peace, we are wisdom. Beloved community, we are pure spirit. Beloved community, we are pure spirit.
As Jesus passed along the Sea of Galilee, he saw Simon and his brother Andrew casting a net into the lake, for they were fishermen. And Jesus said to them, "Follow me, and I will teach you to fish for people." And immediately they left their nets and followed him. As they went a little further, they saw James, son of Zebedee, and his brother John, who were in their boat mending their net. Immediately he called to them, and they left their father in the boat with the hired men and followed him.
On one of my Facebook groups this week, somebody put up a post that celebrated Lent and said, "What are you going to do for Lent?" And one of the other people on that strand said, "Lent? That's not in the Bible, so it must be bad." And he kept saying that over and over and over again. And so I started every time that he would put, "That's not in the Bible," I would say, "Pulpits, that's not in the Bible. Sermons, the way we know that, that's not in the Bible. Hymns and hymnals, I'll tell you what those are later, that's not in the Bible. Songs that we sing today, they're not in the Bible. Baptismal fonts, crosses, Sunday school, they're not in the Bible." He didn't like my answers. He got huffy. He started being mean to people. And he started yelling his answers. Felt like he had to protect Jesus. But, yelling your answers is not in the Bible either. Having to protect Jesus, not in the Bible either. A superiority of the past over the present is not in the Bible. But we act like it is sometimes. We act like something before was right and that today is wrong, and that what we're moving towards might be even more wrong. I watched a series of movies this week that looked at different genres of music and kind of talked about about where they were at. And specifically, it was usually older people who had been stars in that type of music, who were sitting around reminiscing the golden age. And so there was one on country western music, there was one on gospel music, there was one on bluegrass music. And I was interested when I saw them all kind of taking the same type of course. How do we preserve the past? How do we, the greatest generation of this music, make it so that the next generation doesn't change it, doesn't make it different than what we liked? And then there was one on jazz. And jazz took on a whole different pattern. Every generation was almost expected to be innovative. Every generation was expected to move beyond. There were so many subgenres within that type of music. Dixieland, swing, bebop, fusion, funk. Each generation saying, what else can this music be? What else can be true about this music? The hard part is particularly in one thing, one of the commentators was looking right at the camera, and he's kind of asked this question: do they think that sounds good? And he said, that was my first reaction to it. But then I had to listen to it a little bit longer, and I began to hear the intricacies of what the artist was doing, and I said, wow, that can be better. See, we often interpret keeping the past as the highest goal. Why do we do that? Why is the past more important than the present, or more important than the future? I think we do it as if it taught us everything that we need to know, as if it brought us to a perfect understanding, even though all those genres had started by reinterpreting the music before them. Even though every Christian holiday is a post-biblical interpretation, even though we know that what has gone before interpreted its past, tried to make sense of something that is not quite understood. You see, the dynamic is that we think we know it all, that we already have it all figured out, and that we don't have to do work right now. At least that too easily becomes our stance, especially if we're in opposition to someone else who, from our perspective, seems to know so little that it merits us ignoring them, ignoring their questions, ignoring and overlooking who they are. And we often do it with good reason. Isaac Asimov, that great prophet and author, said, "There is a cult of ignorance in the United States, and there always has been. The strain of anti-intellectualism has been a constant thread winding its way through our political and cultural life, nurtured by the false notion that democracy means that my ignorance is just as good as your knowledge." And so we easily look out and say, look how better informed I am than you, so I can ignore you. But when we do that, we're no better than those who are doing it to us. But it only takes a few moments in nature to realize that we don't know everything, and that many things out there are also out of our control. Look at this meme from just a month and a half ago, as a Christmas star came together and the planets aligned. And isn't this a magnificent picture? Look at all of that detail, that beauty that is there. And the bad part is As soon as we put that up there, we immediately began telling stories that gave it a singular definition, an ultimate, definitive meaning, forgetting in our discovery to just be awed by the moment. Look at this meme. Let's take our hearts out for a walk in the woods and listen to the magic whispers of old trees. We need to sometimes know that it doesn't all depend on us, that there is a larger picture beyond us. Carrie Newcomer has a poem that she wrote called When Things Come Together, and I'd like to read it to you. It says, I got out of my car today carrying my groceries, carrots and potatoes, broccoli and onions, an ordinary sack of ordinary things. Then I heard high in the clear December sky the sound of hundreds of migrating sandhill cranes, each one flying with purpose, heading south for the winter. Suddenly they released from formation. They opened and gathered, hovered and honked, blossoming like ink spilled into blue water, skating randomly around like Jesus bugs on a pond. And then, without any apparent reason that could be seen from the ground, the flocks realigned and regained direction, recreating their connections wing to wing to wing, washing forward in waves on their way out to sea. Sometimes things don't come together, and we don't know why. Maybe the wind shifted or the light changed. Maybe it was courage or a moment of clarity. Maybe the eternal called or the internal clock chimed. All I know is that somewhere something keeps weaving, creating whole cloth from what seemed hopelessly unraveled. Creating whole cloth out of what we don't think can ever be put back together. We live in a moment where there's lots of things that seem raveled, and we wonder, can we ever put them back together? See, we want things to be fixed, unmoving, settled, decided, but the Spirit always calls us into the dance of mystery, where we don't quite have everything figured out, or at least not figured out in the way that we want. But this meme helps us to understand. Ego says, once everything falls into place, I'll find peace. But the Spirit says, find peace and everything will fall into place. But the peace that this is talking about is not the peace of staying in what we already have discovered. Like me on that mountain, I might be peaceful sitting there, but it's not the end of the journey unless I stop climbing. And I need to turn and see what can be done now. And it's not the peace that says that, well, they gave us meaning, they made us comfortable, and we don't want to leave. And it's not the peace of what appears to be peace if we can only pretend that the pandemic isn't here anymore, then everything will be all right. Or because if we just forgive the insurrectionists, then we can finally solve the rifts between us. It's not that kind of peace. Instead, we look for the peace of living with Spirit, even in the midst of unanswered questions, even as we continue to search for the more and the better solution. Persia Joyce Gertler said this, finally on my way to yes, I bump into all the places where I said no to my life, all the untended wounds, the red and purple scars, those hieroglyphs of pain carved into my skin, my bones, those coded messages that sent me down the wrong street again and again, where I find them, the old wounds, the old misdirections, and I lift them one by one close to my heart, and I say, holy, holy. Those mistakes of the past, those places where we haven't quite discovered the right answer, also bring us to spaces where today we can look at today's world and say, what now? I don't want to go back to a year ago. There are things that needed to be fixed from that year. But to go forward, I must hear the voice that makes me turn and see the next journey. As Jesus was passing along the Sea of Galilee, he saw Simon and Andrew, James and John, casting their nets into the lake. And he called them beyond that. He called them into the next space. Come, follow me, he said. This was the beginning of something new. And it's not because they'd done the old thing badly. They were fishermen, and apparently good fishermen. James and John's father, Zebedee, had many people working for him. And yet when they heard the voice say, come, follow me, they got up and went to the new space. This gospel, Mark, is the oldest of the gospels that we use on a regular basis. It was probably derived from the sayings of Thomas, which, by the way, are going to be our text of the Lenten season. And it's Mark's attempt to try to understand and do something different. What did this Jesus thing mean? What are we supposed to do now that he's dead? How do we live into what it taught us and who it called us to be? And at least one of his answers was we have to get up from where we are and go to the next thing. No matter how many questions that next thing is, how much we don't know, how much we still have to figure out. But that step towards new discovery, new calling, and new meaning is exactly what the Spirit calls into us. How many have come to realize that your face these days is showing more signs of wisdom rather than other forms of beauty? How many of you know that that you're responding to this very strange time is not the same as you might have many years ago? I've been struck over the last couple of weeks about the similarities between the word vaccination and vacation. And in this time where none of us has a true vacation, isn't it interesting how getting that vaccination or hearing that somebody else does gives you some of that same release? Oh, good. Gives you some of that same peace. It's not how they rhyme, not just their vocal tones, but it's how they bring relief that calls them the same. Relief to tired spirits who are worn down from the too much around them. How else might we bring that to each other? How else can you bring meaning, purpose, peace out of this year? Brooke Hampton said, surround yourself with the risk takers, the storytellers, the creators, the truth seekers, the artists, adventurers, and dream makers. But mostly surround yourself with the people who draw the same magic out of you. Find ways to be in connection with others that are asking you to turn and look up the side of the mountain and see the climb and not be afraid. To look at to listen to the voice that is calling you to leave your nets behind and step into the next space, the mystery. Robert Raines said that taking on the mystery is yielding to grace, letting go of all explanations, analysis, ideologies, self-images, images of God, agendas, expectations. And in some ways, I kind of hate that he put that whole laundry list of things because you can find yourself somewhere there. You can't just say, oh, that's his thing to deal with. She's the one who doesn't do that. In all of those things, explanations, analysis, ideologies, self-images, all of us can find that which keeps us sitting on the lake shore. But the Spirit always calls us to the next question, always calls us beyond. And at the end, he says, the mystery names and claims us, inviting us to take it upon ourselves as if we were God's spies, going into the unknown, going into the space where we get to discover what it is that God needs in this space, what we can be in this next space. Frank Zappa, that crazy rock god, said, without deviation from the norm, progress is not possible. If we are to progress out of this space, we are to make something more out of this, we can't just go back to what's comfortable, what's easy. We must step towards what can be. Almost 25 years ago, a young 17-year-old gay man watched appalled as the United States Senate denied a hearing to a man who had been nominated to be the ambassador. They didn't take a vote, but they didn't even listen and sit in a space where they talked about him. And that 17-year-old man, now grown, this week was confirmed by the Senate to be the Secretary of Transportation. And this nomination and confirmation of Pete Buttigieg was not a close vote. It was 86-13. Almost everyone voting to confirm him. And I'm sure that in the midst of all that other time, he didn't have the absence of conflict trying to work there. And probably didn't even have peace completely in his own soul. But he had the strength of vision to see beyond just the roadblock, just the denial, just the hater, just the ones who wanted to stop him, and work towards better solutions. And in this case especially, become a better solution for our world. In this week, when we celebrate Rosa Parks' birthday, in this week where both Black Lives Matter movement and Stacey Abrams were nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize, may we not be unafraid of the questions and the struggles. May we truly seek for the way of God in this moment and how it calls us even into the questions. Amen? The disciples, folks like Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, those who walked with Jesus and those who followed, sat in a space where they had to decide what next. They had to figure out, do I just sit here in the easy space? Do I just go back to my boat? Do I stop this journey? Or do I figure out how to keep walking in the midst of this? To help them, Jesus gave them this wonderful gift, not just as a comfort, but as a challenge. And he gave them this gift that said, I am with you always, but with the expectation that they would continue to journey. Not that they would sit and just enjoy the bread, but that they would use it as strength for the journey. And so we take this bread, and we break it, and we bless it, and we give it to each other, and we say, take and eat, for here you will find the presence of God with you, even as you journey into unknown spaces. Take this juice, made from grapes that were crushed, but to become the living water that we can drink, and that gives us what we need to be able to continue. Take and eat, take and drink. This is God's promise and God's call in your life. Amen.
Here I am, Lord. Is it I, Lord? I have heard you calling in the night. I will go, Lord, if you lead me. I will hold your people in my heart. I, the Lord of sea and sky, I have heard my people cry, all who dwell in dark and pain, my hand will save. I who made the stars of night, I will make their darkness bright. Who will bear my light to them? Whom shall I send? Here I am, by the Lord of wind and flame. I will tend the poor and lame. I will set a feast for them. My hand will save. Finest bread I will provide, till their hearts be satisfied. I will give my life to them. Whom shall I send? Here I am, Lord. Is it I, Lord? I have heard you calling in the night. I will go, Lord, if you lead me. I will hold your people in my heart.
So, as we continue on this challenging journey, that is challenging in so many different ways, that is forcing us to develop into something that we never knew we could be or never knew we wanted to be, I give you this benediction from Brene Brown. Look at this meme. Wishing you a heart open enough to stay curious, strong enough to feel pain, and brave enough to feel joy. Bless you on your journey. Amen.
Follow me where I go, what I do and who I know. Make it part of you to be a part of me. Follow me up and down, all the way and all around. Take my hand and say you'll follow me. It's long been on my mind, you know it's been a good long time. I've been trying to find a way that I could make you understand the way I feel about you, just how much I need you to be there where I can talk to you when there's no one else around. Follow me where I go, what I do and who I know. Make it part of you to be a part of me. Follow me up and down, all the way and all around. Take my hand and say you'll follow me. You see, I'd like to share my life with you and show you things I've seen, places that I'm going to and places that I've been. To have you there beside me and never be alone, and all the time that you're with me, we will be at home. Follow me where I go, what I do and who I know. Make it part of you to be a part of me. Follow me up and down, all the way. Take my hand and I